Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Uncultured Cinematic Universe. Shit, I messed it
That's
up.
not us. That's not us
I
anymore.
messed it up. God, okay, we're gonna start again. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Uncultured Universe.
There it is.
We are the podcast where two friends show each other movies, shows, and anything else that they need to see outside of movies or shows, hear, or experience in order to get a little more cultured.
Just a little bit, you know?
I'm your host, Joe. I'm sorry for that confusing introduction. And I'm joined as always by the uncultured Justin. Today, it's time to dance your own way with your own steps at the Pan Pacific Grand Prix. It's the dazzling 1992 Strictly Ballroom. Justin, take it.
Take it away. let's hear it for Joe, everybody. Trying his pretty hardest. Wow, I can't wait to see how many times we try to do an Australian accent and fail miserably.
I immediately took off with that one and realized this is leaning British, and then I stopped.
Australian is British, but like drunker,
Oh,
a little lazier.
I don't know if we can say all of this. Let's not immediately jump into being racist to Australians.
I was about to say, how many Australians are we going to piss off? Who knows? I don't know. I don't know how many listeners we get there. But Joe, this movie was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Let me just kind of set the stakes here.
Set the mood.
It is February of 2024, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I have completely lost track of what day it is.
What era we're in? Yeah.
We here at Uncultured Universe love a miniseries. We love a pairing of films, if you will. And so this is the start of our Baz Luhrmann month.
It's gonna be crazy.
We both found a Baz Luhrmann film that the other one hasn't seen, and they happen to coincide with the one other Baz Luhrmann film that we have covered on this podcast. So
right.
I think it was around this time last year we had Musical March.
Yeah.
And we did Moulin Rouge, which is maybe his more famous movie, but the movie that we're talking about tonight is actually the start of the Red Curtain Baz Luhrmann trilogy that was ended with Moulin Rouge.
Yeah.
And so we are talking about the 1992 film Strictly Ballroom, which
this was his debut.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker.
Yeah, I have a little background on Baz that I can give out in a bit. But yeah, this is what a debut. What a dazzle, baby.
Swung so hard for his debut. I can definitely see flavors, profiles, and things like that he's sprinkling, that he's trying out, that ultimately pay off in more of his more well-known films like Romeo and Juliet and Moulin Rouge. Filming style, he loves flash, not afraid to lean into the silly, lean into the ridiculous camera angles, like way too close and tight and personal. But I had a ball with this one.
Hey. Ballroom dance. Yeah, give me your first impressions here. What did you know about Strictly Ballroom going into it?
I knew goose egg. You mentioned I knew nothing. You brought this up in our, like you said, in our musical March series that we did last year in 2023, and you said how Moulin Rouge was related or preceded by Strictly Ballroom. And I was like, what even is that movie? I like visuals. Nothing sparked anything in my brain. This wasn't even a blip on my radar. So I went into this completely blind. The only thing I knew was what you told me last March, was that like it was kind of like like a mockumentary kind of thing, and it's about ballroom dancing in Australia, and that was it. And that's all I had. So
for some reason I remembered it as being more mockumentary than it actually is.
It's
If you
like the
watch
5 minutes.
they basically use that motif to like introduce characters where they're kind of like looking directly at the screen and they have like, you know, their name on it, and then it's done. Like it goes straight into, oh, this is a regular rom-com dance movie.
Yeah.
For some reason I was thinking like, oh, this is like a Christopher Guest movie, like they're going to be going back and forth between like a camera crew the whole time. No,
Yeah.
it's a regular movie.
Which is kind of weird because I was like, wait, what happened to the camera crew that they were talking to? It was just in the first opening
Just all in
sequence,
their heads, baby.
and then it was gone. And I'm actually kind of glad it didn't lean more into that, because I actually liked the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it could have been like undercut and not feel as earnest, as sweet as it could have been if it was, you know, cutting back and forth between like, well, can you believe she said that? Or, you know, some of those talking head pieces wouldn't have jibed with me.
God, if we had some sort of like graphics department, I would really want like a scoreboard down in the corner of the screen where it's like Justin tries an Australian accent, Joe tries an Australian accent.
Just a koala, just like scratching, just like a.
He's like climbing up or down a tree based on like how well we do it.
Uh-huh.
The koala wants the eucalyptus. Feed him.
Feed him or he'll die.
Yeah. This is Strictly Ballroom was very much kind of like a library movie in our house. I've mentioned before that we were very much library children growing up.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have like cable or like TV channels, really. We didn't have like satellite or anything, so we just watched like a shit ton of DVDs.
Sure.
And this was one of them. It's again, it's like a style of comedy that can feel very Christopher Guest, but it's the earnestness of the movie that I think makes it very Baz as well. Everyone's kind of wearing their emotions on their sleeves, and it's reflected in what you were saying about like the film angles too. Like this movie's not afraid to get like up close and personal with someone's like fucking pores, you know?
Yeah, it's it's like the announcer guy or whatever.
It's the teeth.
The teeth. Oh man, it's like right up in there. It's the announcer guy of like the competition or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And only he is like super close up. Everyone else is just pulled far away in normal camera shots. Anytime they cut to him, it's just right up in there in his fucking face.
It's just incredibly stylized. It's these. I had a list of like what kind of makes a Luhrmann film, what we think of when we think of a Luhrmann film, and how this movie, as his directorial debut, sets those precedents early on. And what I was thinking through is like, obviously, this is a movie filled with color. It's filled with sparkle. It's filled with incredible costumes and over-the-top characters. It has a damn soundtrack. The Time After Time cover that's kind of at the center of this movie was actually sung by the main romantic lead in this.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. How about that? Fran.
Love Fran.
It's about romance. It's about forbidden love. It's a camera with a personality, is the way I think about it. Like, you see it a lot more in Moulin Rouge, which we covered, is like the camera's almost like flipping around with a sound effect at some points.
Yes, we'll talk about the sound effects that Baz Luhrmann loves to do. It's the old like kung fu television show sounds of just a.
It's a swipe. It's a. There's always like a touch of magical realism too. Like, there's insane stuff that happens just kind of on the edge of this movie in particular.
But it works, honestly. With this movie that has so much physicality. Of course, it's going to make sense. And I don't remember there being as much of those swipey sound effects in Moulin Rouge. There is, but I don't think But I don't think there was as much as this one. But even still, when we see our next film in the series, there's a bunch there too.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll let you end the episode as we always do, talking about the next film we'll cover. But like, Speaking of the Red Curtain trilogy, some listeners can maybe discern what we'll be covering next. But if we think about like this movie as the start of the Curtain trilogy, you can really see where he starts to establish his style, and you can see how it grows over the next two films, ending with Moulin Rouge. It's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I was so in that regard. So you look at the trilogy, and it's always a through line of some sort of like forbidden love sort of story, and the stakes kind of grow with the movie, with each subsequent movie. This one, the stakes are super low. It's just like a local suburban area of Australia. I don't know where they are,
A
but
local. We're talking about the Pan Pacific Grand Prix.
damn you.
These are the championships.
But like the surrounding, I'll talk about that in a second. But like the stakes are very low, right? It's just like
I also
it's
have no idea where they are in Australia. That was actually one of my questions.
right. I know. But it's not too crazy of like their forbidden love. It's just like, oh, you shouldn't dance with her. She's an amateur. And he's just like, whatever, I'm going to dance with her anyway. The next movie that we go to, the stakes are much higher. It is way more forbidden. It is, some would say it is the story of forbidden love. And then Moulin Rouge, of course, is forbidden as well. But then you throw in some tuberculosis and some other slapsticky stuff.
He descends into death pretty quickly.
And that's what I was, honestly, that's kind of what I was expecting. I was like, when are we going to get Bazed? When is he going to Baz us? Like,
Oh, you thought this movie would
end in
like
tragedy.
tragic?
Yeah,
Oh.
I thought Barry or someone was going to come in and kill what's his name?
Scott.
No, I thought he was going to come in and kill him. Or something like that, or something tragic was going to happen with her, with being living in the backyard of a fucking train yard, you know.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to end in tragedy, and I was waiting for it. I was bracing for it.
The two romantic leads are very like in love and like self-serious in this movie, but I think the remaining cast is so zany around them that it can't help but really be more of like a light beat rom-com, more upbeat rom-com.
Right.
Whereas the other two films in his trilogy are more tragedy, drama, romantic tragedies. And we keep saying trilogy. These movies aren't actually related in terms of story.
In no way.
It's more structure and theme. There was actually a definition I pulled from, I think it was Wikipedia. Luhrmann said that the three films followed a specific style of filmmaking. Each film contains a theater motif that reappears throughout the film. So dance is used in the first film, strictly Ballroom, poetry and language in the second, which we'll talk about, and then song in the third, that'd be Moulin Rouge. So I
love it. Yeah,
he has a huge theater background, and that's what he's kind of like working through with these movies.
And I get it. And this is a hell of a one to start with, is just like performative, earnest dancing by way of breaking the mold of something that is strictly ballroom, that's in the title, breaking the mold of that to just like feel what's in your heart and maybe dance a paso doble.
It's about breaking away. It's about a new generation taking over and kind of the conflicts that happen between generations as a result of that.
Yeah.
It's also about like immigrants providing fucking culture, even though if we think about Australia, like everyone in this movie is a fucking immigrant, but like
sure.
The cooler immigrants in this case providing culture that maybe has been lacking for the rest of society.
Yeah, you get like, which is still very true to this day, and I'll touch on like my connection to ballroom dancing in a second.
You have a connection.
I do, but it's not what you think. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Yeah, like you look at the professionals or whatever, the judges, and they're just sweaty old white guys who know like what dance is, and try to shut down and squash anybody who tries to dance outside of the bounds. And they won't stand.
There's this movie, and then there's a movie called Muriel's Wedding with Toni Collette that you should watch, that have just like instilled in me a belief of like how tacky and kind of like gross looking Australia was in the 90s, regardless of like how true that actually is. But like the movies that were coming out of Australia at that time that I consumed were this blonde hair, spray tanned, kind of like ultra technicolor style movies that scream a different era in a way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And yet it kind of makes the two leads of this movie stand out even more, because they're kind of not like plain, but they're kind of more normal in the midst of all that wackiness.
Mm-hmm.
And so they make sense as kind of the romantic center of this.
Yeah, and they ground it for sure. They stand out from the cacophony of madness that's going on, of his mom, Scott's mom, just being the absolute most, being the
She's my favorite character,
and just giving the business to her dad the whole time. And where even so at the end, he's like, "Shall we dance?" And I'm like, dude, bitch doesn't fucking even deserve it. Like, she
everyone
sucks.
dancing at the end.
Everyone.
Any movie that ends with everyone dancing is a win in my book.
Yeah, it was just filled with bodies, just all just swaying, and it's beautiful.
All right, we're getting ahead of ourselves, though. Why don't I give you some film stats, and then we can just jump right into the plot, and then we can talk more about it.
Yes.
Strictly Ballroom, directed by Baz Luhrmann in his film directorial debut, who we're here to talk about.
He's right.
Stars Paul Mercurio, Tara Maurice, Bill Hunter, Pat Thompson, Gia Carides, Peter Whitford, and Barry Otto, who is Scott's dad in this, who is also the real-life dad, I found out, of Éowyn from Lord of the Rings.
Shut up! That's cool.
Fun, yeah. Released in August of 1992. Bit of a summer flick, although I guess it's winter down there. I don't know how that works.
It's always opposite. Yes.
Do they call it summer, though? Surely not.
I don't know.
They call winter where we call summer. It's not like summer means cold for them.
Right. It's different. Yes. I think you're right.
Okay.
In
an insane country.
We're learning here.
It's actually based on a stage play that Luhrmann developed in the mid-'80s, which I can't imagine how that worked. Maybe it was like a huge ensemble. But I guess if like the ballroom classroom itself was kind of the center of all of that, you could see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
But like there's some big like crowd scenes in this movie that I'd be interested to see how it translates to the stage.
Yeah, it's the competitions, right? Yeah. How do you do that on stage? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we only get like the behind the curtain stuff in the stage bit. That'd be a cool little.
It's the juicy drama. That's all you want.
Yeah. This film made 11 million against a budget of $3 million, so modest little hit there.
Yeah, way to go.
And like we've been talking about, it's the first in his Red Curtain trilogy. All right, let's jump right in to plot description then. Do you think you can give me a 1-minute Strictly Ballroom summary, if you will?
Yes.
All right. Your time starts when I can figure out this clock. Okay. And go.
Strictly Ballroom centers around these dancers. Scott, who is a prodigy dancer. He's a badass. He's been dancing forever at this little studio. He's dancing with this one chick who kind of sucks, but she has like that something about Mary hair. It's really weird. He tries to dance outside of bounds, and like he gets kicked out of the competition or something like that, but they're going to get him back in. So he starts dancing with he needs a new partner. So he dances with Fran, is like literally the frumpy girl with the glasses and the frizzy hair. And then she's all that her, and her hair smooths and everything's fine. she's like, I'm going to dance your steps. And he's like, I do. I want to dance my steps too. So then they go to the competition and they undercut everybody. But he learns how to dance with his soul from her family because they're immigrants and they're Spanish. And then they go to the competition and win, but not before he kind of fucks her over for a little bit. But then she's like, I forgive you. And then they dance and make out and they fall in love. It's fun. And it's all in Australia.
Nice. You're like a couple seconds over. Perfect.
Yeah.
I think that covers it. Yeah. It is all in Australia. That's a good point to make here.
In case there's any question.
It's a very Australian movie. Yeah, I think the one thing I remember going into this is like not realizing that Fran. I gotta stop. My cat is trying to get in front of the camera right now. Hang on.
He's fine.
I just dropped him accidentally. Okay, it's fine. I didn't realize that Fran was the girl from the cover of the DVD. So you watch the movie and she kind of starts out as a background character. They've done some insane stuff to her hair. She's wearing a triple XL shirt over like leggings. And then so for the first maybe 10 minutes, she's kind of comedic relief. You think she's like this kind of nobody in the background while Scott's dealing with his partnership with Giacaritas. And then there's the moment that I love where he's kind of having like a not flash dance. What's the Kevin Bacon dance one? Footloose.
Footloose.
He's having like his little Footloose moment in front of the mirrors. He thinks he's alone. He looks in the mirror and she's just standing there. And then he asks her how long she's been there, and she goes 2 years, because that's how long she's been at the studio.
It's so good. Yeah, I love the way that they played her off first, of just like, oh, she's just like this. She's the stereotypical weird girl. She's who was Catwoman?
Like Michelle Pfeiffer?
No. Shit.
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway. She's Anne Hathaway in Princess Diaries.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, glasses, the full thing. And as soon as she came on screen, I was like, oh, they're going to fucking, like, she's all that her.
There literally is a moment where, like, he asks her if he needs her glasses. She needs her glasses. And then he's like...
dance, and she's like, no. And he's like, good. Fuck.
You could dance better without them.
Dork.
But it's wonderful. They find companionship in the fact that they both have their own steps, as they call it. They both want to break away from like what is strictly considered ballroom and start to kind of like bring some modernity to the ballroom dance world.
Which is weird. Like his is just like, I want to like spin and twirl and slide and all that kind of stuff. He wants to do
like acrobatics. She's got like actual moves.
Yeah, she's got the paso doble, and she's got, this Spanish heritage. Which is wild, because she doesn't like totally look it on the outset, and then you see her family later and you're like, okay, I get it. That's where you get the frizzy dark hair and stuff. So they're Spanish kind of thing.
I love that they integrate the scenes with her family into it, where he basically like follows her home one day after they've been having these like secret rehearsals and meets her family. Her family has no idea she's been dancing with him the whole time. So you get kind of like a forbidden love thing going, where like they refuse to let him dance with her because she's too innocent and they want to keep him away from her. And then he kind of like stands up for himself, and he says he can do the paso doble, and then you see them do it because they make him do it. And it's like the most like, there's only a word for it, like white, like just completely stiff arm movements where it's supposed to be like sensual and passionate. And then the movie spends the next half hour slowly teaching him to actually feel something with his body.
Yeah, right. Like he's been dancing for like 20 something years. Like this didn't come up of like how to dance with your heart or that kind of thing. Hilarious. And I thought that was, that whole part is amazing, because, like her family, her dad, whoever it is like threatening him sort of. And it's like, oh, it's going to be a dance off. Like, it's not like, I'm going to kick your ass for dancing with my daughter. No, let's have a dance off, buddy. And then they
It
go in the
kinda
back
is.
and he throws off his jacket and you're like, oh, dad's got dancing pants on. I'm fucked.
Yeah, his little clogs. Yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Those
yeah,
high-waisted pants.
it's fantastic. Scott has all the technique in the world, but that's not going to get you into the new age without having a little bit of heart. And this movie is about teaching him that.
It's great. It's a great twist on that kind of stereotypical story. I can't think of one off the top of my head where it's exactly that, of like, you're technically proficient, but you don't feel it here where it counts. You feel it only here, not here, right?
I weirdly do have another movie that is similar. That was also like one of the movies we had growing up that is also related to dance. Have you ever seen Billy Elliot?
Billy Elliot. No, I haven't seen that one.
Okay. It is a movie that was released, I think, at the end of the 90s. And it's about this kid who lives in, oh, I'm going to get this wrong. He lives somewhere in Britain during like a coal mine strike. And so it's like, they're really poor. He lives with like his really like British working class dad and brother and his grandmom. And they're like real working class, real tough. And he, instead of boxing, secretly decides to go learn ballet from this ballet teacher who is the Weasley's mom from Harry Potter.
Great.
And so he learns how to express himself through ballet secretly, while hiding it from his working class family. And then he also eventually gets into this like prestigious ballet school doing his own little moves as opposed to like, you know, robotic ballet perfection.
Is he throwing like some left hooks and shit?
Well,
like
it does mix in with boxing. Yeah. There were so many like dance your heart out movies in the 90s. Like, what we talk about ninja movies, the ninja crave, but we forget about the dancing crave.
The dancing part of it of the 90s was big too, right? Especially in the late 90s when you get like the young Channing Tatum and fucking Jessica Alba flicks. What is it, like Honey and Stomp the Yard and
going into 2000s it was like Step Up, and then that lasted for a while.
Step Up, yeah. Step Up to the Streets.
Step Up 3D, The Revenge.
The Revenge. Oh man.
Yeah. Big movie in our house. We should watch it.
Step Up, yes.
No, Billy Elliot.
Let
me give you.
Give me.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I had a really good time with this movie. The two leads are, and I'll say this, like making the trailer that I cut for you with the song that I did for you, made me like, oh,
which I'm so thankful for.
I think I kind of really like this movie. When you just look at it just from their perspective of just seeing them just dance and kind of fall in love and kind of grow with each other, it's kind of sweet. It's really sweet.
Them on the rooftop dancing next to like the clothesline and like the Coca-Cola glittery billboard.
Coca-Cola thing.
I'm like, this is kind of cinema. I don't know. This looks fantastic.
This movie fucks. Yeah. The Coca-Cola sign, hilarious. They had to have fronted at least a third of the budget. They had to at least throw in $1 million. Be like, cool.
Sure.
We'll pay you by the second. And Baz Luhrmann was like, great. I'm gonna have that sign up for so many shots for so long. And it's
the iconic. It's an iconic scene of the movie. It's them on the roof in front of Coca-Cola. It's very 90s.
Very 90s.
Yeah, I love the costumes in this. Everyone around them looks like one of the evil stepsisters from Cinderella, in terms of like poofiness and just like the hair that you mentioned, which is all insane. It just takes us back to a simpler time, you know?
Yeah, of a lot more hairspray and just like uncomfortable fabric. Yeah, it's performative dance competition kind of stuff. And
Mhm.
a lot of it does feel immediately antiquated and old. So here's the connection thing that I hinted about
I'm so
earlier.
excited.
During the pandemic, or maybe prior to, we started watching Dancing with the Stars,
Mhm.
and we did not take any lessons, but we watched a lot of it. But Len Goodman, are you familiar with who that is? He's
We were So You Think You Can Dance household.
okay. So Len Goodman being like this old professional dancer connoisseur kind of a guy. Every so often, in the seasons that we watched, he wasn't on. He would just kind of just do like quick video kind of stuff, talking about the dance and what makes it stand out from other dances and stuff like that. And it's just like it's this old ass white guy who's like a professional in the Spanish two step or whatever. And it's just like, shouldn't the people who like dance this be the ones talking about it? And it's the whole thing, and it ties into the movie of like Barry Glib, no Barry, what's his name?
Barry 5.
Barry Five. Yeah. He's just like he's the guy pulling all the strings and he started the whole thing or whatever, but it's just like that guy, sure, maybe he can technically do it, but like that guy doesn't fuck. He does
he's
fuck in the
just
movie, but
he's
like
just constantly trying to hawk his like $29.99 DVDs or
yeah,
VHSs
yeah,
about how to dance.
yeah,
Uh,
it's ridiculous. But I thought that was a neat, hilarious connection. I was like, oh, so he's like the Lynn Goodman of this universe.
so wait, like, do you guys know enough to like know the different types of ballroom dance? Like, have you ever tried anything?
No, 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 no. Not that we're
Aw,
not that brave. We're not that brave.
I
But
think you guys would be great.
but it was. I mean, we're the same height. It wouldn't quite work out. Um,
Isn't that maybe how it's supposed to be? I don't know.
I don't know. A lot of the stuff I've seen, it's like the lead, the male dancer, whatever, is supposed to be taller, or so a
I've
little
never
bit taller. I don't know.
I'm really bad at it because I've never understood the concept of like leading. I don't know how that works. I don't know like how the feet back and forth of dancing
Right.
works.
Joe is
Um,
not a leader. Joe does not take the lead.
how would you rate yourself on your willingness to take the lead in a ballroom dance situation? 2. Um,
Two, yeah.
let me give you some background on Lerman real quick,
Yeah.
just
Let's talk
because
Lerman. Let's do some Lerman talk.
yeah, I want to kick off just the Lerman talk, and I figure we can kind of close it out in the next episode, bookend it kind of nicely there. So let me talk about his beginnings. So his full name is Mark Anthony Lerman, by the way. Baz was a nickname he got in like high school and college because of some sort of a connection to a celebrity that I forget.
Okay.
His mother was a ballroom dance teacher, among
Mhm.
other things. His father ran a movie theater, among other things. So
Amazing.
you kind of have the foundation right there.
He was
This movie
gonna.
was fated to happen.
It absolutely was.
He started as an actor in Australia. He's actually in a few TV shows and movies.
Yeah. I don't even
Which
know what he
then
looks like.
you should look it up. He looks like a Devil Wears Prada like fashion person. He
Oh shit, he
he
does.
looks kind of like how you would think someone named Baz Luhrmann looks. Um,
Wow.
his acting career allows him to fund a theater company, which leads to Strictly Ballroom being his film directorial debut. And he's cited theatrical styles like Italian grand opera and Bollywood as some of the ones that have influenced his own work. You can definitely see the Bollywood in something like Moulin Rouge.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we surely talked about that.
Yeah.
So I mean, when we talk about Lerman, it's always easy to just like put him under the umbrella of like, oh, maximalist, like he just wants the most out of every single frame. But I think there's more to it than that. I think like again, like we were talking about, like his camera moves in a way that it is somewhat of a character in itself.
Mhm.
And he has these characters in his films that are often like really heightened, really kind of heightened versions of side characters you would normally have in films, while also maybe having these like grounded leads,
Yeah.
and so highlighting the difference there.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was expecting of this movie. I was expecting, you said it's called Strictly Ballroom. I thought it was going to be like way more into the flash and glitz and glamour and that kind of stuff. And you said it was kind of a mockumentary, and I was like, okay, so it's going to be like flash bulbs, all this kind of stuff. It's going to be very Baz Luhrmann. What I've come to know of Baz Luhrmann, um, of this the other two movies that we've talked about already, but also like Elvis and I can't even think of Great Gatsby, that kind of
Great
stuff.
Gatsby.
That's what I was expecting from this movie, even though it was his debut. But this one is like way, way, way ratcheted down comparatively. And then that helped me kind of see the kind of filmmaker he is based on those other movies that we've talked about, where it is about just like a core story of two people, just trying to make it, just trying to fall in love.
Yeah, my main Baz connections were this movie, Moulin Rouge, and then Australia, which he did in like the mid 2000s. I think 2008 actually. Australia is an interesting one because it's super long. It's a historical epic, and it doesn't have as much as like the theatrical flashiness. You can tell he's like definitely moving past this red curtain trilogy phase. It's much more structured like an epic movie. It still is kind of sparkly in a way, but he uses a lot more like landscapes and like a lot more of like CGI like bigness, as opposed to like interior spaces that are maybe glitzy in their own right.
Yeah, I did like the kind of the Batman gritty realism of this movie. It's not like a sweeping metropolis. It's not like a bustling city center downtown. It's just like this little suburb with like 2-3 story buildings max. They're kind of piddly, a little bit run down. It's behind a train yard station, that kind of stuff. It feels very slice of lifey.
Yeah,
and I liked that.
you get the feeling that there's kind of like an irony at play there, where it's like all of these people are living and dying for this ballroom competition that is kind of maybe in the middle of nowhere, Australia.
You step outside and it's like tumbleweeds, and
yeah,
a dust cloud moves by, and you're like, well,
they might be in like the outskirts of Sydney or something. I have no idea where they are. You can kind of see like some taller buildings in the background of certain shots, but they're definitely in like suburbia Australia somewhere.
Yeah, if they were going to redo this movie, of course they would botch it and not make it what this movie is, which is really honest and centered around the story of the two characters. They would put it in a downtown booming city center, that kind of stuff. It would cheapen it, I think.
There has to be kind of like a level of kind of
Like,
tackiness for this to work,
right? Because like you get the crazy hair and the ridiculous over the top makeup and outfits and stuff like that. It's
the
a
spray
nice
tans.
Yeah, 100%.
I like that you mentioned Elvis. I haven't seen Elvis yet, but
I haven't either.
If we talk about, you haven't seen Elvis. Oh, I was going to ask, like, we're talking about Strictly Ballroom in 1992. Elvis is in like 2021, 2022. So there's like 30 years between his first and his latest. I would wonder, like, what are the differences / like, what are the motifs that you can kind of still see going through his career?
Even through like the trailer that I remember seeing in theaters from Elvis, it felt very Baz Luhrmann-y because of just like some of like the flash bulby stuff of like the celebrity of Elvis, that kind of thing, when he's like at the peak of like his name and lights and all that kind of stuff. It felt very Moulin Rouge-y, that kind of thing. But then also too, it's kind of like the historical part, because it takes you from like Elvis growing up to finding fame, and then like his demise later, and his real back roots growing up in Mississippi or Alabama, Tennessee, wherever the hell. Forgive me, everybody, for not knowing my Elvis trivia.
You're going to hell.
I'm going to hell. I'll see him there with me. Where like it feels like grimy and like a little dirty, that kind of stuff. A little more honest, true, turn of the century America, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
I
mean,
can kind of see through lines.
It puts it in like a, I don't want to put it in a box or anything, but like the evolution of Baz Luhrmann from the 90s into the 21st century really, for me, means like just like wider shots, wider landscapes, just bigger spaces that he's dealing with. Not necessarily like more things in the shot, but it seemed like he probably just like had more budget ultimately at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But like his later movies definitely incorporate a lot more CGI to create these like larger spaces.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if he wanted to take another whack at doing this one again or something like that. But honestly, I think this movie is great, and it was a real delight. It really was. Yeah.
All right. I know we're on a bit of a time crunch. Let me get your cocktail, baby. What are you drinking?
This delicious little thing. So I wanted to originally call it "What's in the Thermos" of who's that fucking guy?
Ken Railings.
Railings. I love that last name. It's so good. Ken Railings. What's in the thermos, Ken? But I was kind of bankrupt, like mentally, for ideas. So I went to the internet to kind of look up Australian cocktails. And where did that lead me? It led me to the place where there are no rules, but it's just right. Outback Steakhouse, ladies and gentlemen. So this is a riff on one of their like signature cocktails, but I'm calling this a green pina koala.
A green pina koala.
Yeah, so this is rum, pineapple juice, coffee liqueur, blue curacao, and a little bit of oat milk because I didn't have coffee or coconut cream. So it's delicious.
Outback Steakhouse, Australia's most famous export.
Yep,
that and Nicole Kidman.
That's right.
Pam Short's broken both her legs, and I want to dance with you.
Oh God, I loved that.
The little kids in this, that was unexpected. Oh my God.
Yeah, they were kind of like the Greek chorus. Yeah.
They were. All right.
What do you got?
I have what I am calling a Bogo Pogo Spagliato.
Oh yeah.
So this is essentially a Negroni Spagliato, which, as we as internet users all know, is equal parts vermouth, Campari, and Prosecco. Stunning. Some grenadine for color, and a little bit of an orange, like a garnish here that I think is actually from a cutie. You guys have cuties?
Oh yeah, adorable.
Yeah.
That's great.
Very fun. All right. Give me some final thoughts on Strictly Ballroom before we get into some end games here, bud.
For a movie that I knew nothing about going into it, I was delightfully surprised. Mm-hmm. I was mentally prepared for like maximum carnage, full throttle Baz Luhrmann, glitz and glamour, wildness, but seeing a more reserved, more kind of focused storyline on two people just trying to fall in love or actively falling in love with each other by way of dance was really neat. And I thought it was great. And like I said, like cutting the trailer myself and just kind of watching those scenes over and over of watching them dance together, I was like, I really like this. Yeah, this is good. This is good for me.
It's a great movie. It's a good time. I revisit it often. If you want this level of like kind of quirky Australian comedy from that era as well, check out Muriel's Wedding too. Again, it's Toni Collette. It's awkward and hilarious, and this same level of like quote unquote tackiness that we've been talking about is also present.
Amazing.
All right. Shall we get into endgames?
Yes. And a disclaimer, which was hilarious. So you told me we were going to do this game and you gave me the title. And I was like, cool, I'm going to give it a little what did I say? Like a little samba flair or something like that. And you said, no, it's more like a sultry tango. And I said, my only connection to what a tango is from Rent,
Yeah.
which is the Tango Marine. And you said that is the most bi thing ever. And I never felt more seen or validated in my entire life. Thank you. So here we go.
The jukebox jungle, it's a light silly merry-go-round. As you keep you guessing, you're wrong. Your head is messing. It'll be different this time. Here's where you choose, because how could you lose with a game where he doesn't keep score? I hope we do not crumble. The jukebox jungle.
Hit me.
Ah, yes. How could I resist revisiting the game that we played during our Moulin Rouge episode? Welcome to the Jukebox Jungle, the game where you would normally craft your very own jukebox musical, but not tonight.
Oh,
Because
no.
tonight we will be playing Jukebox Jungle Dance Edition 2024, as I have
shit.
named it.
Shit.
I will be your guide. I will walk you through the beats of your story, and you get to choose what ballroom dance styles should be danced to accompany each moment. I'll give you 3 dance options each time,
Okay.
and you always have the option to think up your own dance as well.
Okay.
Here we go, and I think you'll recognize the story because I didn't change it from last time.
Got it.
Dance scenario number 1. You are a simple peasant boy, can't even read, who longs for a life of adventure outside of this crappy farm. To vent your frustration, you dance by yourself about how much you want to get out and explore the world. Is that dance a lonely cha-cha, a sad little jive, or a surprisingly impressive foxtrot with a tree?
Ooh, I'm going to go with neither. I'm going to say it's fourth option. It's going to be a pathetic single swing dance, but in the style of the mid 90s swing dance from when the Gap tried to make swing happen again. So it's going to be that. It's going to be that swing dance.
I'm going to need to look up more on that, but yes, you sound sad and pathetic and lonely. Dance number 2. You break out of that podunk town and immediately run into the love of your life, but she doesn't notice you, and she hates music. You convince her to do one dance with you. What dance do you lead to woo her? Is it a paso doble, and you immediately treat her like a bull? Is it a sexy little samba? Or you're holding your feelings back and choose an austere waltz?
Ooh, I like that one. But I'm going to go with my own choice. I'm going to go with a confusing interpretive dance. We're just going to just like writhe in front of each other and just like see what happens.
Okay, I'm starting to take this personally. Dance number 3. The love of your life has been won over by your shitty interpretive dance and developed a taste for dance herself, but her family doesn't approve of you. They dance around her as a group to symbolically explain that you're no good and that she should leave you. Is that dance a fierce group tango, an aggressive quickstep, or a surprisingly impressive and coordinated foxtrot?
Have these been the same 3 choices just with different adjectives each time?
I don't know.
I don't know. Should have been paying more attention.
No, they have not.
I'm going to choose what I'm about to say, and that's going to be neither. They're going to do a deeply coordinated Irish dance, like a stomp dance, like
Oh, wow.
Lord of the Dance, Michael Flatley.
That's out of nowhere and terrifying. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, just
Oh, it appears to work. Dance number 4. Your love's family convinces her that you're not good enough for her, and she dumps your ass. In response, you resolve to show them that you're worthy by learning to read. What is the motivational montage dance that you and your friends perform for months while you learn to read? Is it a group waltz, like in a circle? Is it a very stompy Roomba? Or is it a surprisingly broy foxtrot?
What does that even mean? Surprisingly broy. It's going to be a syncopated robot dance as a group, but with like a chant that goes into it. So R-E-A-D, he can read.
Reading, technology, knowledge. I get it.
Reading,
right.
Technology. Yeah, it's me, a robot. Bunch of robot dances.
Love it. Want to see this movie. Dance number 5, the finale. Armed with your new reading skills, you now have a choice for how to proceed. Do you try and win back the love of your life? Do you decide that she wasn't actually that great and go off to explore the world? Or do you go back to your farm because you realize maybe it wasn't that bad after all? Either way, the entire town and everyone you've met along the way will be joining in and dancing back up. Your choices are: everyone dances any style they want in the streets while it's raining, or you go find that tree and finish what you started with that foxtrot.
We are all going to walk home or dance home together, but the rain is going to hold off, but a dust storm's going to come in. So the only way to clear it up is we all just got to tap dance our way back home. So there's no arm movement. It's just a lot of tapping down the street, and it's very violent and kicking up dust everywhere.
Some Dorothy, Kansas ass shit.
But we get there. And I give like the tree a side eye of just like, so, but the tree ignores me.
One dance. She's already moved on. Fantastic. Justin, you passed Jukebox Jungle Dance Edition 2024 with flying colors.
You did not keep score like I thought.
And I actually have the movie rights to the story that we just came up with. It'll be releasing in 2025.
Directed by Baz Luhrmann.
Directed by Baz Luhrmann.
It's going to be incredible.
Fantastic. All right. Let's close this baby out. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where we're going next episode?
As if you couldn't have already figured it out, we're going to do the movie that is smack in the middle of the Red Curtain trilogy. It is going to be Romeo and Juliet, or Romeo plus Juliet. I don't know how you phonetically say it, but it is the Leo DiCaprio, Claire Danes powerhouse performances all around. And you've never seen it, and it blows my mind because it
never rules. Seen it. I'm very excited for this.
Rules. I saw it the first time I was like 7 or 8, and so it did something. So it's a very cool movie. It's very fun. It fits in with this whole theme of everything that we've talked about of Baz Luhrmann. It's interesting that I don't know what number film Romeo and Juliet is for him, but it's got to be one of his earlier ones because it came out it's his second one.
Yeah, This was his directorial debut. So
in 92, I didn't know if he did anything else from 92 to 96.
Oh, like if he mixed some stuff into the trilogy. No, he did the trilogy all in a row.
Okay, I didn't know if he did stuff in between. Okay, but cool. Because holy shit, it is amazing. It's got all the stuff that you'd expect. But that's where we're gonna go to close out February. And it's kind of like a secondary sort of theme of just like love and romance. And that's just that's just where we find
Romeo
ourselves.
and Juliet, a quasi-famous love story.
That's right. Among other things that are just in there. But yeah, it's wild. But Joe, thank you for showing me Strictly Ballroom. Again, I had no idea about this movie, and I don't think I've ever would have come across it organically any other way.
This is why we do this.
This
This
is
is what
why
this
we do this.
podcast is all about. This is what no one else is doing. Hell yeah.
Getting us a little more cultured, and that's what we do. So check us out on the socials at Uncultured Universe, wherever you get it. Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Check it out. That's where we're at. And we'll catch you guys for the next episode. Bye.
Bye.